Hi everyone, I'm Denise and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making Swedish meatballs. There's nothing more comforting on a cold, snowy day than a big plate of buttery egg noodles with Swedish meatballs. So let's get started. So this is what we've got so far. I've got a pound of ground pork and a pound of lean ground beef in my bowl. And to that I'm going to add, I've got one small yellow onion here that I sweated off in a tablespoon of olive oil with a tablespoon of butter, and then I cooled it. So I'm going to add that now to my meat. And then here I've got a half a cup of panko breadcrumbs that I soaked in a half a cup of milk and 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. And you let it soak in the milk and cream for about, this has probably been about 15 minutes. It just soaks it all up, and then it's going to be nice and moist in your meatballs. Your meatballs are going to be nice and moist. I also have 2 egg yolks. I'm going to add that to my mix. And here are the spices. I have a teaspoon of fresh ground nutmeg, a teaspoon of allspice, a half a teaspoon of allspice, half a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of black pepper. This is what makes Swedish meatballs, gives them the distinctive flavor, is the allspice and the nutmeg. So we're going to add that all in. Then I also have a tablespoon of freshly chopped or freshly minced parsley. I'm going to add that as well. Now we're going to mix this all up together. Okay, so my hamburger meat's all mixed up, and I've just gone ahead and I started making my meatballs. So what I do is I use this little 1/8 of a cup, measuring cup, to that's the size of my meatballs. And they're a good size. They're about an inch, I guess. And I'm putting them on a cookie sheet that I lined with tin foil and sprayed with cooking spray. And I have my oven preheating at 400 degrees, and I'm going to bake mine in the oven actually. So you can fry them in a fry pan if you like. I just choose to do them in the oven. There's less mess, and the meatballs I find tend to stay together better. Because when you're frying them, you know, they're moving around, and sometimes you can break them or something. So I do them this way. I know that if you fry them, that you get all the nice bits in the pan and the flavors. But the gravy's still going to be good. So it's up to you what you want to do. I bake them in the oven at 400 for about 15 or 20 minutes, just till they're nice and tender done. You can tell when they're done. So I'll just finish these up, and then I'm going to stick them in the oven and cook them up, and then we're going to get started on the gravy. Okay, so we're back. I just wanted to show you guys. There's all my meatballs. They're all cooked. And we're going to start working on the sauce now, the gravy. And then we're going to add the meatballs to the gravy, and then we're going to cook our noodles, and then supper's going to be ready. And I did taste one of the meatballs because I couldn't wait, and they are so good. Anyways, so we're going to get cooking. Okay, so in my nice deep skillet, I have 1/3 cup of butter melting on medium-high heat. And to that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of flour, just all-purpose flour, because we are making a roux. This is going to thicken our sauce. So we're going to stir it around just for a couple minutes, because you want to cook out that flour. You don't want to have like raw flour taste to any of your sauces or gravies. So we're just going to cook this till it's just a little bit brown. Okay, so I've been stirring constantly here for a couple minutes, and now it's just getting like a nice light golden color. So to this now, we're going to start adding some of our beef stock. I've got hot beef stock here. You can just use the Tetra Packs too and make it cold. But I'm adding it hot, and you stir while it's going in because you don't want it to get all lumpy. Keep stirring. You can see it's getting nice and thick. Keep adding your beef stock and stirring. Don't let it go idle, otherwise that's when lumps will start forming. I mean, if you did get lumps, you could actually strain it after you add all of your beef stock. So, got a little bit of flour still in the corners there of my pan. Okay, now to that, we are going to add 1 cup of heavy cream. It's already looking so yummy. Next, we are going to add, in here I have 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and 1 teaspoon of cider vinegar. So I'm going to add all that into here now. Mix that in again. And my heat is still at medium-high, and I'm stirring this like constantly right now, just because I don't want it to burn, but I do want it to cook. So I'm just gonna let this cook just a few more minutes, and I'll be back in a sec. Hi, so I've finished seasoning it. Tastes pretty darn good to me. So now I'm just gonna add the meatballs in here. Gently, so they're not all splashing around. I've got my water on the stove right now, heating up or to come to a boil for my noodles. I use broad egg noodles for this kind of dish. You could use whatever you wanted, or you could not serve anything with it, just the meatballs, because I think traditionally they are just served on their own, but you could definitely serve it with mashed potatoes or noodles, or I guess even if you wanted to, you could use rice. So it's all up to you. So I'm just going to stir these around in here, and that looks really yummy. Nice and creamy. So, you know, I'm going to let these sit in the sauce here just while I'm cooking my noodles, because the meatballs are going to lend some flavor to the sauce as well. And plus it'll warm them up a bit more because they've been sitting for a little bit since I took them out of the oven. So we'll let this sit for a bit, and then we'll come back and have a taste. Hi, so back again, everything's done. So I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like. Here we go, lovely. Made some green beans to go with it. It smells so good. That sauce was delicious. Sorry, to my head there. So I'm just gonna take a little bite here for you now. Super easy to make. Not really that time consuming either, but really comforting. Oh, that is so good. So creamy. Those meatballs are delicious. They're really moist. When you have the pork and the beef mixed together, the fat from the pork actually keeps those meatballs really moist. And then when you use the panko and soak it with the milk, they're just like to die for. They're the best. And you know, if you don't want to use all of those meatballs in your recipe, you can just freeze some of them after you cook them and then just use half the recipe. But it's really good. So if you guys like this recipe, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll attach the recipe down below in the descriptions. And thanks for joining me. Have a good night.